Hey vinyl community, James here. This is my intro to the community. I've been watching for many years, been a voyeur for at least 10 years, and I decided to jump in for a number of reasons. Sometimes with life, you're thinking about something for a long time, you're procrastinating, and no one procrastinates probably more than I do. Um, and it's something I've been thinking about for a long time, but when Julius Jabbar, the other day did his piano trio video, something just clicked in me. I said, you know what? This is my entry point. This is a nice way to get into it. So I realized, yeah, let's go for it. It could be something fun to do, a little personal evolution for me, mix things up, and just have a good time. I love the vinyl community. There's so much love between everybody. So I just thought I'd jump on in. So I got 10 jazz trio records, or piano trio records. I don't have a lot, but I was able to, of what I had, I picked out, what I think are 10 good LPs. So the first two I wanted to show these two together because there's a reason for this. So, method to the madness. First one is Stanley Cowell trio called Sienna on Steeplechase. This is 1989. Lineup is Ron McClure, bass, who did a lot with Joe Henderson in the 70s, as a lot of you know, and Keith Copeland on drums. Most of this stuff was written by Stanley Cowell, those self-penned tunes. He does a track called Cal Massey, which is obviously a tribute to the great Cal Massey, and he does a monk tune, Evidence, which is nice trio stuff. I don't really have the words to say about piano trio often, but Stanley Cowell, he's going back to tradition. There's nothing that touches on his Strata East or Avant types of things. He's just going back to the roots on this. A nice session, and I wanted to show this along with another Steeplechase, Joe Bonner trio, because both of these guys did a lot of interesting, progressive music in the 70s. I think Joe Bonner did a lot of sessions with Pharoah Sanders, I believe, in the 70s. And here he's going back to the roots also. His trio, they do just some beautiful standards. If I Should Lose You, A Child Is Born, I Only Have Eyes for You, As Time Goes By, Barbados. Really nice stuff. I love Steeplechase. There's no such thing as a bad record on Steeplechase. They almost Steeplechase doesn't often get the credit they deserve, I think, or it's not talked about as much, and everything is always, they're always pretty easy to find, and they're relatively cheap, $7-8, and just solid. There's no bad record on Steeplechase. The next one I wanted to show, and this is something I just went for, this Royo Fuki on the We Release Jazz reissue label. This originally came out in '76 in Tokyo. I just went for this. It had been calling to me, so to speak. I kept seeing it in the record stores for months, and there was something about this cover, that cover shot, and that introspective look of him with that beautiful background. And here's the back of it. There's something about this record that's just calling to me, and I just finally went for it. It's that intangible thing that just, I just kind of had to have it at some point. It just seemed interesting. Apparently, he was very influenced by Bill Evans, which a lot of pianists were in the 70s, especially, even up to now. But I feel like he brings more energy to the table than Bill Evans. I like some Bill Evans. I'm not crazy about all of his stuff, but I feel like he took the Bill Evans influence and added his own energy to it. Again, some standards here. If it could happen to you, I want to talk about you, and a really interesting version of Willow Wheat for me, his own special interpretation of it. Really nice record. And this label, there's only one I have on this label. Nice thick cardboard, nice heavy vinyl. It's nice package. a nice piece. So that's that one. The next one of my favorite, Andrew Hill Nefertiti. Originally on the East Wind label. This is on Inner City. This is a reissue on Inner City. This was recorded in '76 and this came out in '79, at least on Inner City. Andrew Hill is one of my favorite musicians, just not just piano players, but just musicians. I love his, I think Judgment, his Judgment album is one of my top records of any genre. It's amazing work. Here he does, it's still avant, but a little bit, different than his Blue Note stuff because it's just a trio setting, like I said, and it's with Richard Davis, and on drums is Robert Blank. A lot of these tunes start out with, there's just a duo going on with Richard Davis and Andrew Hill, and then after a few minutes the drums kick in. So very interesting song structures here, and even though it's different than Andrew Hill's Blue Note that we're all used to, there's he still brings that special Andrew Hill touch. There's really no one like him. I mean, Andrew Hill's, for me at least, when he's one of the few piano players, when I hear him, I know it's Andrew Hill. So this is a really interesting one, and hard to find. This is the only time I've ever seen it, is when I got it. So check this out if you can find it. Nice cool record. The next one, and this is probably the most, I won't say probably, this is the most interesting record of the bunch that I pulled out today. It's Georges Edouard Noel, originally from Martinique. This one was recorded in 1975 in Paris. I don't know what the original label is, but it's reissued on this Rebirth of Wax label. And the reason why this is, I wouldn't say the most interesting record of the bunch, is this is mostly electric. He plays, Georges Edouard plays piano and electric Fender piano on this, but mostly electric, with electric bass by Louis Xavier, and a host of percussions. It's usually just one percussion player per track. It's not like they're all going on at once like a Santana record. But there's cowbell, bel air drum, conga. But what makes this stand out for my other trio, jazz or piano trio records, is there's this undercurrent of groove or funk to this. Not like a full-on parliament funk, but this undercurrent of groove and funk to this. And if you look at this up online and you read about it, I've seen descriptions of it as Afro-Caribbean, which I think is apt to a certain degree. But I've been listening to this a lot the last few days to kind of think about how I might talk about things for this video, and this is highly, highly recommended. I think, at least listen to this online somewhere. This is a really special record. I don't have anything like this, and I'm not aware of anything like this. So check it out. It's a really, really cool record. I'm happy I got it. Great album. Next one, another Steeplechase. Although this is this is reissued on Inner City, but originally on Steeplechase. Duke Jordan trio. This is called Two Loves, 1973. Sometimes I don't really have the words for, quote, standard trio records, but this is a beautiful outing with Duke Jordan. I mean, you can't go wrong. He's doing some classics, Mild Flame, Blue Monk, Embraceable You, I Will Remember April. Really, really nice record. And as I said before, anything on Steeplechase, it's always solid. You can't go wrong. I love that. Anything on the label. Here's an interesting one. On the Polish Jazz series, again, I tend to you often will hear me say, if I keep on doing these videos, something I, quote, went for. There was something about this. I ordered this. I got this over a year ago. And I'm going to botch the name. It's, how do you say that? Maiskitov Kos. I'm a typical American. I just botched the name of a Polish name. This is a nice jazz trio. It's originally 1971. It came out, recorded in Warsaw. Based on the notes, another Bill Evans influenced player, supposedly. When I listen to this, the first side is very free in a way. To me, it doesn't feel like Bill Evans at all. And then side two reins it in a little bit and comes back more to the tradition. There's actually a version on here of the Beatles' Yesterday, which is a really interesting personal interpretation. That's not really a song that I really care about anymore, but hearing this interpretation is interesting. And you know, any European jazz has always been intriguing to me, because when I first got into jazz and I learned that there was jazz from other countries, I was completely ignorant to it. I had no idea that there were jazz musicians and bands from other countries, because I was ignorant. You know, this is many years ago when I first started exploring jazz music. But ever since then, there's always been a special draw to me for music from other countries, but especially jazz from other countries. It seems like there's a little bit more enthusiasm on their part, and I'm completely projecting onto that. But that almost increases the appeal for me. It's like, wow, these guys cared enough, and it increases my appeal for jazz from Europe, South America, Asia, whatever it may be. So this is a pretty cool record, and it was a good price too. I think I got this for maybe $15. So check it out, Polish jazz. Next one is this is hands down my favorite jazz or piano trio record that I own. Mary Lou Williams, and again another. This accidentally is almost a steeplechase video, but this is on Inner City, originally on Steeplechase. Recorded in 75, released in 76. Mary Lou Williams, Free Spirits. Mary Lou Williams, I don't know a lot about her actually. I mean, I do know that she was associated with all the greats back in the golden era. I know she spent a lot of time with Ellington and Monk and Dizzy Gillespie and all those cats. And, you know, her playing is just graceful, and it seems like there's another caliber of professionalism to it. And even though I don't know a lot about Mary Lou Williams, I've always felt just the name, anyone named Mary Lou Williams, it's almost like you got to be a piano player. And look at her. I mean, come on, right? That's in full command. She's in full command of this band. She's accompanied by Buster Williams on bass and Mickey Roker on drums. The version of Miles Davis, all blues on here, 7 minutes, it's just, breathtaking. I mean, full command. So check this one out. And again, these Steeplechase, you can find them. They're Inner City. They're cheap. I think I got this for $5 many years ago. Speaking of Steeplechase, Inner City, Kenny Drew with Philip Catherine and Niels Henning Orsted Pedersen. I got this, to be honest, many years ago, simply because Philip Catherine is on it as a guitar player. I love him, but his stuff's hard to find. I have one solo record of his, and have him as a sideman on some other things too. So that was probably the main reason why I got this initially. But I've come to really like this record. It's a little subdued sometimes, and you know, I love Kenny Drew, but it's a nice record, and you know, different because there's no drumming on here. So that's that one. Speaking of legends, you know, Hank Jones on Bot Rudu. This is Muse 1977 with, I mean, look at this lineup: George Duvivier on bass, and you know, Ben Riley. I mean, come on. And here he's doing, just like the title says, it's all Monk and Charlie Parker tunes. Yardbird Suite, Confirmation, Ruby My Dear, Round Midnight, Monk's Mood. All great stuff. I don't, have the words to really quite describe this, but just a nice kind of classic piano trio record. Really good stuff all the way around. And last, I thought I'd save this one for last because this is the most recent release of all the records I have. This is Robert Glasper live in the Capitol Studios, 2015. I didn't know much about Robert Glasper, and in fact, I would see his records, or I had seen his records for years in the stores, and I wouldn't even say passed it up. I never even gave it a thought because, in a way, the fact that he was a newer artist on Blue Note made me even less interested than if he'd be a newer artist on a smaller label. One of my faults is one of my many faults is I tend to not to be open to newer artists, and I just dismissed it. I just didn't have any interest. But one day my wife was listening to a playlist with a Robert Glasper tune on it, and it was really, really good, and it made me investigate it. So I got this live at Capitol Studios, and this has a real nice, like, shimmering quality to it, I would say. Again, I can't talk about technique so much with piano, but the way he plays and the interplay with his band has this kind of shimmering quality to it. He does some covers on this. There's a Joni Mitchell cover, and what else is there? I'm missing some things on here. There's actually a cover of a Radiohead song too called Reckoner, and I'm not really a Radiohead guy, but this is really good. There's a Harry Belafonte joins in on one track as a spoken word song, and if you know anything about Harry Belafonte, you know what topics he talks about. I mean, he really, really gets honest about some things that are very relevant today in our country, and this was recorded 3 years ago. A beautiful, beautiful record, I think. The band, as you can see here, here's the gatefold. It's on bass is Vicente Archer, and drums is Diamond Reed. Really, really nice record. I was pleasantly surprised and kind of proud of myself for getting something new. Because I tend to, again, for better or worse, I can be hard-headed, and I need to try to embrace, more newer music and newer artists. So that's it. Those are my Gimme 10 piano trios. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Thanks for enduring. Hopefully, you might appreciate something I had to say. See if I keep on doing this, and rock on. Thanks.